Any game's payment model is the first barrier of entry players deal with. As a result, this decision can dictate the success of games regardless of their quality. Even if a game is amazing, but it has a high price tag, it might not attract as many players as it possibly could. In this video, I want to go over the different payment or business models used in games today and what I think the Riot MMO will utilize. And as always, as a quick disclaimer, none of this is confirmed and it's just my own speculation. The first thing I want to cover is not exactly a business model per se, but it's found in almost every MMO today, and those are cash shops. Cash shops are where players can spend real cash for in-game items. Typically, these items will be purely cosmetic, such as mounts, skins, and pets, stuff like that, but there are times where players can actually buy character power from the shops. This is when a game gets considered pay to win and has that infamous stigma attached to it. So overall, cash shops are usually a supplementary source of revenue for developers. Now getting into our first business model, we have the free-to-play model. This is probably the most controversial payment model, and that's because, as the name implies, the game is totally free to play. However, the developers will oftentimes attach loot boxes and other cosmetics and just really try to force players to go to the cash shop to buy these items, which makes sense because it's, how they're actually making their revenue. But the other issue too is when developers will add artificial time gates and then sell you the key to continue through that time gating. The positive of a free-to-play model is that these games are the most accessible from a financial standpoint. There is literally no barrier to entry in order to play. The negative side, however, is that these games are often very good at psychologically tricking you into purchasing their microtransactions. A few games that utilize a free-to-play model are games such as Lost Ark or even Riot's own League of Legends. Both games generate a ton of revenue through their in-game cash shops where players can buy skins, pets, mounts, and stuff like that. Lost Ark is a little different here though because you can actually buy gold in the game, which can equate to buying character power. As a result, Lost Ark might be considered pay to win in that aspect, and while it's not an MMO, League of Legends is a prime example of how free to play can be done well. In the cash shop, you have an incredible amount of high quality desirable skins, and you can also buy champions if you desire. As far as the skins go, they are just purely cosmetic, and for the champions, you can unlock them just by playing the game, so realistically, the cash shop in League of Legends has no actual power attached to it, unless you count skintimidating your opponent, of course. The second model I want to go over is buy to play. In this model, there is simply an upfront cost you pay purchasing the game, and that's it. While a cash shop is often used in buy-to-play games, it's usually not as aggressively trying to force players into these microtransactions compared to free-to-play games. A few games that utilize a buy-to-play model are things like New World and Guild Wars 2. This model feels like a nice middle ground. The game is usually complete in the sense that you aren't going to run into any artificial time gating where you can buy your way through. And this also makes power levels among players relatively even across the board, offering a more even gaming experience. The third and final model are subscriptions, also known as pay to play. This model requires players to pay a usually monthly fee in order to access the game. A pure subscription-based model is rare these days, and I don't know any games that exclusively utilize it. There are games such as World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV, but they're more hybrid. Those games are an anomaly that essentially triple dip. You have to buy the game plus any expansions, then you have to pay a monthly subscription, all while having a cash shop with high quality cosmetics and services. The nice thing about subscriptions is it provides developers with a steady revenue stream. This, in theory, incentivizes the developers to make quality content, since if they'd like to keep making money, they have to keep their players happy. This is in contrast to buy-to-play, where developers would get most of their money at the launch of a game when there's the most hype, like a certain game I know. That was the brief overview of the three payment models typically used in games today, so what do we think the Riot MMO will utilize? According to one of Ghostcrawler's tweets, the game will follow a similar philosophy as other Riot-made games. Many of Riot's games and upcoming projects follow a free-to-play model with a pure cosmetic cash shop. I would be surprised if the Riot MMO is anything other than that. As I mentioned earlier, a free-to-play model is the most accessible payment model type. Because it would be free, I think there's a high chance that it draws some of the League of Legends crowd who don't normally play MMOs, further capitalizing on their already established community, which, also happens to be one of the most popular games in the world. The cash shop could have any number of products from skins, mounts, pets, and standard services like name changes and stuff like that. There are already many skin lines in League of Legends, such as the KDA skin line, that could be implemented in the MMO. In the previous video, I had mentioned that Ghostcrawler wants to respect players' time, which would seem to indicate no artificial time gating. I hope that means there won't be an option to buy the key to progress our characters. In addition, if the game does happen to follow a free-to-play model, I hope there will be a good way to handle all of the bots that inevitably make their way into any free MMO. Anyhow, that's going to wrap this video up. Let me know what your thoughts are on the potential payment model and what you'd like to see. This was Gruber Troy saying thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.